Chapter 23 The Red Castle. The guards led the travelers to rooms where they could freshen up. Dorothy washed her face and brushed her hair. The lion swept dust from his mane and tail. The scarecrow patted himself tidy, and the Tin Woodman oiled his joints. Then the guards led them down a hallway to a big room. At the far end was a huge throne that glittered with bright red rubies. Seated on the throne was the most beautiful person they had ever seen. She had a youthful, smiling face, and long, wavy red hair that fell below her shoulders of her snow-white gown. Her eyes, which were a clear sky blue, seemed to hold all the wisdom and kindness in the world. It was Glinda, the Good Witch of the South. Dorothy had a hard time believing that someone so young and beautiful could be a witch. All the witches she had ever seen had been very old. The evil ones had been ugly besides. Even the Good Witch of the North had been ancient and wrinkled. It was very hard not to stare. "What can I do for you, my dear?" Glinda asked in a soft, pleasant voice. Dorothy told her the whole story, then said, "I have come all this way to ask you if you know a way for Toto and me to get back home to Kansas. You are our last hope." "I do know a way," Glinda replied. "I will help you, but you must give me the golden cap in return." "Of course I will. For me, it would only be a pretty thing to wear, as I have used up all my wishes," said the girl. "You get only 3, you know," she added. "Yes, I know," said Glinda with a laugh. "I know just how to use my 3 wishes, too. Now," she said, turning to Dorothy's little friends, "where are you going to go after Dorothy goes home?" "I will return to the Emerald City and use my brains to rule wisely, just as Oz wished," said the Scarecrow proudly. "Very well," said Glinda. "I shall use one of my wishes to have the Winged Monkeys carry you back to the Emerald City." "And you?" she asked the Tin Woodman. "The Winkies asked me to be their ruler after we killed the Wicked Witch of the West and freed them from slavery," he said. "So I shall return there and use my heart to rule over them as kindly and gently as I could. Then I shall use my second wish to have the Winged Monkeys carry you back to the land of the Winkies," said Glinda. "Lion, what about you?" "I want to return to my home in the forest and show all the animals how brave I've become. With my courage, I am now truly the king of the beast," the lion said. "In that case," said the Good Witch, "I shall use my third wish to have you carried back to your forest." Glinda now turned back to Dorothy. "May I have the golden cap now?" Dorothy took out the golden cap and handed it over to Glinda, who gave her a hug and a smile. "What will you do with the cap after you have used up your 3 wishes?" Dorothy wondered. "I shall give it back to the Winged Monkeys," said Glinda kindly. "They can rule over themselves at last. For far too long they have been slaves to whoever owns the golden cap, and they most certainly do not need to have it to fall into the hands of someone like the Wicked Witch of the West. They deserve their freedom." The Scarecrow, Tin Woodman, and Lion all thanked Glinda for her generosity. She was a very good witch indeed, they thought. Dorothy thought the same thing, but couldn't help but speak up. "If you please," said the girl, "may I ask how I am to get home?" "Why, Dorothy," Glinda said, "you have had the power to go home to your Aunt Em and Uncle Henry since your very first day that you arrived here. You can command your silver shoes to take you anywhere you wish to go." "I'm glad that you didn't go home right away," said the Scarecrow. "If you had, I would have never gotten my brains, and I would have never gotten my heart," said the Tin Woodman, "and I would have never gotten my courage," said the Lion. "I'm rather glad that I didn't know about the power of the silver shoes," said Dorothy. "If I had known, I would have gone home immediately, and never had met such wonderful friends or had such amazing adventures. I am glad that each one of you finally got what he most wanted in the world." Dorothy looked around at the smiling but sad faces of her dear friends. "I will miss all of you terribly," she said, "but now I have to go home to Aunt Em and Uncle Henry. They must be so worried about me." She picked up Toto, who was trying to run away again, and held him tightly in her arms. Dorothy turned to Glinda, the Good Witch of the South. "I am ready now," she said. "How do I ask my silver shoes to take me home?" "You simply click your heels together 3 times and tell the shoes where you want to go. In 3 steps they will take you to Kansas, or anywhere else in the world you might wish to go." "That's it?" Dorothy exclaimed. "But it is so easy." "I know, but that is the way it is done," Glinda assured her. So Dorothy and each of her friends exchanged a kiss and a hug, and they tearfully waved their goodbyes. The Tin Woodman cried so hard that the Scarecrow had to oil his jaw to keep it from rusting. Then, concentrating very hard on her home in Kansas, Dorothy clicked her heels together 3 times and said, "Take me to my home in Kansas, please." She was a plague girl, after all. Suddenly she was flying through the air. The wind was wiping through her hair, and her clothes flapped about so hard that they almost hurt. She held on to Toto as tightly as she could, but now he was being very good and didn't wiggle at all. Finally, Dorothy landed on a patch of gray grass. She didn't land hard, but she had been going so fast that she rolled over several times before she stopped. As soon as she stopped rolling, she sat up and looked around. She was in Kansas. "I'm home!" she yelled joyously. She ran toward the new farmhouse. The old one got blown away in the cyclone, if you remember. "Aunt Em, Uncle Henry, I'm home!" she called out. "Toto too! We've had the most wonderful adventures." Just then Dorothy looked around and realized that the silver shoes were not on her feet anymore. They had fallen off during her whirlwind trip home and were lost forever. But she soon forgot all about them because she was home at last. Aunt Em and Uncle Henry came running out of the farmhouse and gathered around Dorothy into her arms while Toto barked and jumped around at their feet. They were so happy to see her. It had been even more gray and miserable without Dorothy round. Now that she was home, everything was brighter. Things were good again. The end.